Welcome here to Wembley. The lawnmower's buzzing behind us on what has been a momentous day at the home of English football. Delighted to be joined by the Mirror's chief football writer, John Cross. Something that Sir Alex Ferguson said was impossible to achieve in his reign. All hail then Pep Guardiola.
Absolutely. I do love Pep Guardiola for his football, for the style that he's brought to Manchester City, to the, all-encompassing, wonderful football, the style of play that it does, and ultimately the trophies. Because, last season he was breaking records by winning the Premier League title, wasn't he? 100 points, scoring goals, record number of consecutive victories, winning the League Cup along the way, of course. But also then, this season, he's topped even that by doing the first time for a men's, as he's quick to point out, respect to him for that as well, domestic treble, and completing it here today with a 6-0 win over Watford. Watford have been good this season. Watford have been, defiant, good defensively, strong, really difficult to break down, and yet Man City absolutely steamrolled them. Watford weren't at their best by any means. But how much of it is that down to sort of Watford's, poor play and Man City's brilliance? I think it's much more to do with the latter.
Because Watford really came out firing from the traps, playing some of their best football of the season. But that handball seemed to sway it a little bit and a big mischance. Yeah,
early on really. And I just feel that Pereira, obviously, with the chance when he goes through, and I thought at the time that's a really good block from Ederson. But actually, when you see it kind of from a different TV angle, he should have done better. Because basically Ederson did brilliantly to react to come off his line so quick, but actually he should have done better. And then I have to say, in this day and age, they've got the VAR with them. I think it was a penalty. I really do. So Watford, you have to say, a little bit unlucky at the start, but it shouldn't detract from the way that City play. City are an absolute joy. And I just think at times we lose sight of the fact sometimes, don't we? I think in our job, just what a privilege it is to see some of these teams. And they just thrill me every time I see them. It really is a delight to watch City play.
Really lovely to see Silva get the opening goal. He's been such a servant and one of the best players of this fantastic reign for Manchester City in terms of their history and the new era. Of course, a lot of talk is going to be about the second goal.
Yeah, well, officially, of course, now it's changed, wasn't it? 3 times. I think originally it was given to Gabriel Jesus. Certainly was on the scoreboard here at Wembley. By about half time, I think the sort of the BBC and the Press Association, as we know them, sort of had given it to Sterling. And then, officially by the end, the FA and the sort of the kind of VAR officials and the technology at Stockley Park has given it back to Gabriel Jesus. I love the way that Sterling pounces on it. I think that's his sort of mood at the moment, isn't it? And I thought he was my man of the match, Sterling, because originally I gave it to him because of the hat-trick. Obviously, he's not scored a hat-trick, he's only scored 2, but that still doesn't take away from the all-action display. He was buzzing everywhere. He was fantastic. I know the BBC gave it to De Bruyne. De Bruyne only came on 10 minutes in the second half. I thought that was bizarre.
Even Pep looked perplexed by that decision when he heard it.
Absolutely. I love the way that the TV cameras panned to him on the bench and he's going, what? He couldn't understand it. I think if there was sort of almost a runner-up or a rival to Sterling, that for me would be Bernardo Silva. I thought he was sensational again. Where does he get his energy? Honestly, he's probably running home to Manchester as we speak. It's crazy. He's fabulous.
It was interesting post-match. Raheem Sterling delighted, doesn't care actually if it, as much as he's joking. Bird Box replied to the FA when they said that it's not his goal. Is a great little Instagram reply of Bird Box saying, I'm not going to change my tweets, in which he said it was a great thanks for the assist to Jesus. Now I spoke to Jesus afterwards and I said, Raheem said thanks for the assist, and he was like, no, I'm not. And that's the thing, they can both joke about it. This isn't going to be and also the FA are preparing that there might be a review over it, there might be an appeal.
Yeah, well, good, honestly, good luck. As I sort of joked to one of the PR staff from the Wembley sort of thing, good luck with the FA stripping England's golden boy of his hat-trick at Wembley. Good luck with that headline. But it's just, I love the way that sort of kind of, there's a lot of banter, there's a lot of, sort of you can see team spirit and a lot of joking between the Man City players. Sterling's at the heart of that, isn't he? Sterling's such a great individual. He's such a really fabulous sort of talent, but also a great person off the pitch. And to sort of kind of finish up, I think, which has been an unbelievable landmark year for Raheem Sterling in such a fashion, to complete the treble and be such a part of that. I just think that basically sums it all up, really. I think he'll sort of kind of do well to sort of kind of top that off. That completes absolutely everything for him. And I just, Gabriel Jesus, it's quite nice to see him kind of back starting the game and getting amongst the goals and playing really well. Because let's be honest, he's lived in the shadow of Aguero, this season. I'm sure that Gabriel Jesus has got a big future ahead of him. I'm sure he'll play an increasing role as sort of kind of Aguero, sort of, as his legend passes through. And I just think the amazing thing about City is they've got depth. They've got such quality in all departments.
And that is what makes them so hard to beat. Also, Pep Guardiola, and what was interesting post-match is seeing him taking Raheem to one side and going through everything, still drilling him after everything. Last game of the season, this, just relentless.
Yeah, I loved it. I think it was great. I love that way that he's sort of always wanting more. He's clearly brought the best out. Him and Mikel Arteta have brought the best out of Raheem Sterling. And I just think it's great, actually. I think they're a great combination between them. I'm sure the players have got so much respect for those guys.
You've talked to Raheem this week. We spoke to him at the FWA and gave us a lot of our time. We're very grateful for that. But he talks about this connection with Wembley. He wants to be the king of Wembley. Of course, Didier Drogba famously scored in both the League Cup and in the FA Cup. He's done it in a sense. Raheem Sterling scoring the most important goal via a penalty shootout. Does that count? And with a hat-trick as well, do you think in the future he could be seen as the king of Wembley? He's certainly gunning for it, that's for sure.
Yeah, he loves it. I think the connection with it, what I like about Raheem Sterling is that he offers, as he did on the sort of the interview with the FWA, but also when I spoke to him this week for the Mirror, he always offers anecdotes, he's sort of, because he's such a colourful, sort of humorous person. He's very warm with it, and telling these stories about how he was in Wembley on Tuesday because he's never lost touch with 5 really good mates from school, and so he just went and saw them just to chill, as he put it, and get some food. And then he told this lovely story, which he's probably told before, about basically when they were on the bus going to Wembley for a previous final, and he saw a mate of his just basically letting himself into his mum's house that basically they used to go into at Wembley, and he sort of immediately picked up his phone, rung his mate as he's going in, and his mate's going, "Is that you on the bus?" And he's going, "Yeah, we've just driven past." I mean, that's just how down to earth he is, so he's never lost touch with his schoolmates. A lot of footballers do leave that behind, the glitz and glamour. He's not like that at all. He's humble, he gets it, he loves Wembley. His whole story about basically going in 2007, he said he was a Man United fan as a kid, wore a old Man United kit, and basically was watching from the heavens, but absolutely loved it. And he said it inspired me. So basically the reason why he wanted to buy those 500 odd tickets for his old school nearby in Wembley, was to inspire more kids for the future. I just love him. He's been Man of the Year, I think, let alone Football of the Year. Forget that. He's just my Man of the Year.
And we've still got players in this City team that have been held back by injury and have so much further to go. Kevin De Bruyne getting a goal, great for him to say, because he hasn't been able to live up to his expectations because of injury. So much further to go. The one thing I want to ask you, what does Pep Guardiola have to achieve to be the greatest of this generation? There seems to be some reluctance to say it yet, but he's not a Champions League title away from it? Yeah,
I would say that's what it would take. I think that we look back upon... He will be, I think, there's periods in time, and I think the United treble winners of '99. I think you could argue sort of Arsenal's invincibles of 2004, but I do think then you must add into that list, mustn't you, sort of kind of Pep Guardiola's sort of brilliant team of last season when they broke and swept all records before them in the Premier League. But I think what would set this team apart and really mark it as a moment in history, as a moment in time, would be if they won the European Cup and lifted that trophy. And I think that would be the difference. I think there's been really, really terrific teams sort of in the recent past. Chelsea were amazing under the first Jose Mourinho's first sort of period in charge. And I just think that would be the difference for me. That was what would make sort of this Guardiola team earn the respect that I think they've already deserved, but it would seem to me that the wider people sometimes don't offer that because of maybe Pep Guardiola's been brought in for one thing, let's be honest, and that's to win the Champions League for City.
I want to just change gears, and it's a difficult one, but this is the Football Writers Association, and all credit for brave journalism post-match, because this is a wonderful moment of history. Rob Harris of the Associated Press confronting the charges and the situation that Manchester City are under with UEFA, and they are investigating regarding their future in the Champions League.
Yeah, Rob Harris is an absolutely fearless journalist. He's really good at what he does. He's obviously on the sports news things, so he's absolutely dedicated to sport, but he will ask the tough questions when needed. And sure enough, there's been a lot buzzing, hasn't there, this week about FFP, about potential Champions League bans, about potential indeed transfer bans for City. So you do have to say, even after they've won the Premier League title at Brighton last Sunday, the next couple of days were filled with, will they be banned, sort of thing. So it is a bubbling issue. And Rob Harris at the end of the press conference for the Sundays, and I have to say probably be all over the front page of the Sunday pullouts and the back pages of the Sunday tabloids really. Rob Harris did ask about basically, is this victory tarnished by some of the wrongdoings that sort of City are alleged to have done, which obviously they deny. Guardiola clearly took exception to this and basically saying, you asking me at this time. And then Rob Harris, being Rob Harris, Treble, as I would lovingly, affectionately call him, and he knows I do that very affectionately because I have got a great deal of respect for him, basically. Quickly,
who spawned that? Was that Charlie Sales that spawned that?
Well, me and Charlie Sale used to cook up a lot of nicknames, and so I think it was done probably on a joint basis, really. So we used to, he's brilliant because he's just completely oblivious to any sort of kind of, dropping himself in it or any kind of criticism for asking these sort of difficult, pertinent questions. He just goes for it and basically does ask. So it would be by no means the first time he's done it. Probably he's done it dozens, hundreds of times. And basically he followed that up by sort of saying, there's been accusations about Roberto Mancini, sort of almost sort of being paid bonuses when he wasn't due them, and sort of making that, have you done the same, effectively along those lines, that sort of question. And then basically, Guardiola really saw red at that point, and then sort of said, you're asking me this today after we've won, after we've completed the treble. You have to understand his frustration at that, because obviously, this is, I guess, in his eyes, taken away, from his team's achievements. But, it was on press conferences like that, there'll be a lot of focus on it. I'm sure there'll be a lot of, sort of videos and sort of kind of, things floating around on social media. And it does feel actually sort of sometimes it's amusing to be there and see it up front and close and personal.
A few sharp intakes of breath, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely. And listen, it will spawn quite a lot of back pages tomorrow, absolutely.
Fair questions to ask in the situation. Interesting timing from UEFA, though, as they were coming to the end of a title season, for it all to culminate just as they're grabbing all the back pages. Yeah,
it is interesting. I guess UEFA would argue, wouldn't they, that basically it's not really the timing as such is out of their hands. But then basically, City, you can understand their frustration. Of course you can, about basically the timing as such, because obviously those stories then have dropped. I think it was sort of Monday that people were talking about the Champions League ban, sort of almost spoiling sort of the follow-up stories about their title success. And again, sort of it's a press conference, isn't it, that basically slightly overshadowed by the ending of it for the Sundays.
But history won't certainly forget this. A remarkable season from there. Where now for your travels?
Oh, well, my travels, hopefully I've got a slightly easier week this week, but then basically gearing up then for the Europa finals, or final in Baku, and then basically on to the Champions League final. Shall I tell you my schedule?
Shall we?
Yeah, my schedule is basically I go to the Europa League final on Monday week, and then I fly there to Baku. I'm one of the lucky ones that can actually get there. I think it's shameful for both Arsenal and Chelsea fans, really. Your heart goes out to them because you don't get too many European finals, and not many fans can get there. But anyway, then I fly during the middle of the night, basically, hopefully the final will finish in time, to Bahrain. And in Bahrain, I change then to fly back to London, but not to get off, but just change terminals. So stay airside and then get a flight to Madrid and arrive on Friday, 1 a.m, having done 22 hours in the air.
Compression socks. That's all I have to say on that note.
I don't expect any sympathy, because I do think it will be one of the best weeks in English football. And I think it will be an absolute, me as a journalist, well, it's what you want to do. Yeah, brilliant. Absolutely. Wonderful.
It's going to be an extraordinary week. We might even do a travel journal, because it's going to be fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us, John, on what is a historic end to this domestic season for the Premier League and the top flight, at least. Of course, here for the playoff finals and finals tomorrow, 2 of which, and we'll keep you posted of all developments on footballwriters.co.uk for now. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Bye-bye.